Winter breath becomes divine. Hear the choir through the pine, softly calling holy sign. Snowfall Carol, rise and shine. Sing of peace and love divine. Through the cold your voices soar. Snowfall Carol evermore. Light from stars and frosted air blends with prayer and angel care. Barnets drum winter night, hope reborn where grace is sat. Ring the bells from shore to sky. Let the song of heaven fly. Snowfall Carol, hearts away, sing for joy the dawn shall make. Through the dark the dream restores. Snowfall Carol evermore. Under the veil of falling white, we remember love and light. Gloria, the world renewed. Bless the night in solitude. Hear the wind through northern trees, carrying our melodies. Snowfall Carol, born of flame, sing the world by his sacred name. In your song the stars implore. Snowfall peace is born, a gentle birth. Sleep, holy light, shine through the winter night. Dreams softly flow in the hymn of silent snow. Candles glow and shadows fade. Hearts in love together stayed. Through the cold our spirits glow, blessed by stars and falling snow. Sleep, holy light, shine through the winter night. Dreams softly flow in the hymn of silent snow. Snøen faller stille klar over fjell og gamle trær. Hør nå klokken, julens fred lyser mildt på jordens sted. Gloria, Gloria, light of the world, sing hallelujah. Gloria, Gloria, peace in the snow, vår julenatt. Stjernens flamme, himmelens bånd, leder oss til kjærlighetens land. Barnets pust i vinternatt, håp som aldri dør blir satt. Halleluja, still and bright, Snowlight shines through holy night. Gloria, et lys blir født, sing for peace on earth i Guds rød. Lys som vokser, hjertet ser, varmen vender, alt blir mer. Sangen stiger, snøen ler, julens mirakel er her. Gloria, alle himler syng, morgenlyset nytt og inn. Blessed be the heart and flame, julens fred i Jesu navn. Gloria, Gloria, light of the world, sing hallelujah. Gloria, Gloria, peace in the snow, vår julenatt. voice as one bestow grace upon the earth below. Sing, O angels, softly stay till the dark has turned away. Let your voices gently flow evermore through endless snow. Snow is falling outside tonight, softly shining in the light. By the tree I close my eyes. Santa's coming through the skies. La la la, little Christmas wish, wrapped in love and candles kiss. La la la, I hope he'll see the little gift he left for me. Teddy bear and dreams so small, sleeping shadows on the wall. from the stars above shines on every hill. Hear the silver chime carried on the air, softly calling hearts to sing a song of winter prayer. Ring, ring, bells of grace, shine upon this holy place. Oh, snow bells, sing Gloria, light Snön faller stilla i kvällens ro. Ljusen brinner, hjärtat tro. Julens frid i varje hem. En sång om hopp och kärlek igen. Julens ljus så varmt och klart lyser vägen genom nattens start. I varje själ ett minne bor om kärlek som består och tror. Tiden går men stunden står. Barnens skratt i hjärtat slår. Gamla sånger viskar om frid. night has whispered you are free, and every heart begins to breathe. The candles fade, the warmth remains, a quiet joy that has no name. Morning of kindness, softly arise, light through the window, peace in the eyes. Every soul awakens anew to find the world made gentle and true. Footsteps sound on wooden floors, the scent of bread behind closed doors. No grand bells, no Mm.